Namaha Bhaktam Sarvesham Hartam Swagatam. Welcome back to the channel Sanskrit Sopanam. I hope you are doing great. I'm also good. And moving on with learning Sanskrit through Gita series. Today we'll be decoding the 39th shloka from the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. In the previous shloka, we saw how Krishna now shifted the narration. That instead of persuading Arjuna by reasons, now he is telling Arjuna how to act, how to perform his duties. So, in the previous shloka, we saw Krishna introduced the philosophy of work, that is Karma Yoga. And before he goes deeper into this philosophy of work, in this shloka, he is telling Arjuna the importance of this, that why is he expounding on this philosophy. So, very beautiful shloka. We will see what it means. Without wasting any more time, let's quickly dive in today's video. Okay, so this is the shloka that we have. Let me go through the shloka once. Esha te bhihita sankhye buddhir yoge tvimam shrinu buddhaya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. So let us quickly see what all sandhis are there in the shloka. You see this pada, te bhihita. So here there are two padas, te and abhihita. And what sandhi is this? So this is a purva rupa sandhi, due to which this a is getting hidden by this avagraha chinna. It is a purva rupa sandhi. Okay, and then if we move on, so we see this pada buddhir yoge. So here also there are two padas, buddhi and yoge. And here what sandhi is happening? So this is a rutva sandhi, due to which this visarga is getting replaced with this rakara. So it is a rutva sandhi. Then if we'll move on, so again we see this pada tvimam. So here also there are two padas, tu and imam. In place of u, you are getting this vakara. So this is a yan sandhi, a very common sandhi that we keep on encountering in almost all the shlokas. In place of e, you get a yakara. In place of u, you get a vakara. Very common sandhi. That is what is happening here. So tu imam, this is combining as tu imam. Okay, and if we'll move on, so we now see this pada yukto yaya. So here also the pada is yuktaha. But due to utva ukara sandhi, this yukta is changing into yukto. And again, all the sandhi rules and the word by word breakdown of this entire shloka is in the PDF sheet that you can download from the link in the description box. So you have it there for your own practice. We will just move on and start the decoding of the shloka. Okay, and in this shloka, no, there are different pieces of information. So when we'll decode the shloka, we will do it in parts. So you can think that we are starting with this abhihita for the first part of information. So abhihita, that means that has been declared or that has been told. And just for your information, this abhihita comes from dha dhatu. See, dha dhatu generally means to support, to hold, right? But with this upsarga, the meaning slightly changes and the meaning becomes to declare something, to tell something in that sense. And abhi and dha, we are modifying this pair with this ta pratyay. Okay. So when they combine, the pratipadika that is formed is abhihita. Okay, since we are using this kridanta for a strilinga namapada that we will see further in the shloka, since we are using it for a strilinga namapada, so we have this strilinga form, abhihita, a dirgha a. Okay, but the meaning is that has been declared or that has been told. And immediately our question will be, ka abhihita, what has been declared? And the response is, esha buddhi abhihita. So here the main namapada is buddhi. And this comes from the pratipadika buddhi, which is a feminine gender, which is a strilinga pratipadika. And the form here is simple, prathama vibhakti ekvachanam. Okay, and since I want to say this buddhi has been declared. What is the meaning of buddhi? As per the context of shloka, we will come to it. But since I want to say this buddhi has been declared, so I am using the sarvanama etad. Etad, this sarvanama means this, right? So since I'm using this sarvanama, I'm using this pronoun for buddhi. So this will also take the same strilinga prathama vibhakti ekvachanam form. So this becomes esha. And now see this pratipadika buddhi. Very commonly we understand buddhi as intellect, right? But this buddhi can also mean knowledge. This buddhi can also mean wisdom. Because see, this pratipadika buddhi is derived from the dhatu buddha dhatu. Buddha dhatu means to know. Right? To know, to understand. And this buddha dhatu is modified using tin pratyay. When we modify buddha dhatu using tin pratyay, we get this pratipadika buddhi. And this particular pratyay, this particular suffix can give the meaning of the means through which you do this action. So the means of knowing, the means of understanding. So this buddhi in that sense becomes our intellect. Okay. But along with this meaning, this tin pratyay can also give the meaning that which is known, that which is understood. So this buddhi becomes the knowledge itself, that which is known. So that is the knowledge itself. Okay, and here in the context of the shloka, this buddhi has to be understood with this meaning, knowledge. or the wisdom. Okay, so Esha Buddhi Abhihita, this knowledge that has been declared, this wisdom that has been told, that is the meaning. Okay, I'm explaining this why? Because Buddhi, we generally understand Buddhi as intellect, but intellect is in the sense of means of knowing, and knowledge is in the sense of that which is known, and both the meanings are given with this word Buddhi. Okay, and by the way, which pratyay gives what meaning when it modifies a dhatu? All this, particularly this, we have covered in our playlist Fundamentals of Sanskrit, where we are covering all the krit suffixes. And this particular suffix, tin suffix, that you saw in this particular example, we have already covered this suffix. So I'll leave the link to that video here. If you have time and if you have that interest, try and explore that video. So you will also understand how any pratyay, how any suffix actually modifies a dhatu, what all happens internally. And you will also understand how the meaning is derived, that what pratyay gives what meaning to the dhatu. So if you are interested, do check out that krit suffix video. Anyways, this is the meaning so far, but let us move on. And now I'm asking this question, kasmay, that this knowledge has been declared, but for whom? And Krishna is saying, Esha buddhihi te abhihita. Esha buddhihi te. Te, this comes from the pratipadika, tad pratipadika, which is again a sarvanama that means that. Okay, and see this te, this can be the fourth vibhakti, the chaturthi vibhakti ekvachanam form also, and it can be the shashti vibhakti ekvachanam form also. And we use chaturthi vibhakti to express this for when the action is performed for someone. Okay, when that person is the receiver. So we can use this te as chaturthi vibhakti also. We can also use it as shashti vibhakti, because in shashti vibhakti also we see this, that when the action is performed for the sake of someone. So that meaning is also given by Shashti Vibhakti. So since this te, this Vibhakti form is found in both Chaturthi Vibhakti and Shashti Vibhakti, you can consider it either of it. But the meaning still stays the same. That Krishna is saying, this knowledge that has been declared for your benefit, Arjuna. Esha buddhihi te abhihita, for your benefit, for you. And now if we'll move on. So now we have an interesting point. Because kasmin vishaye, that this knowledge, what is the subject matter of this knowledge? This knowledge is in regards to what? This knowledge is in relation to what? That is I'm inquiring here. Kasmin Vishye, regarding what? And Krishna says, Esha buddhihi te sankhye abhihita. That this knowledge that has been declared to you is in relation to Sankhya. Now see, this Sankhya, this comes from the Pratipadika Sankhya. Don't confuse this Sankhya with Kapila Muni's Sankhya Darshan. Sankhya in Sanskrit has a literal meaning, the logic of reasoning. And since Krishna wants to say that whatever he has told Arjuna up till this point, all that knowledge was in relation to this logic of reasoning. So to show this in relation to Sankhya, that is in relation to reasoning, he is using the Saptami Vibhakti Ekvachanam. So Sankhya, this is a Napunsaklinga Pratipadika, neuter gender Pratipadika. So in Saptami Vibhakti Ekvachanam, this becomes Sankhya. Basically Krishna is saying that whatever I have told you so far, Arjuna, all those were logical reasons to understand a point that I was trying to make. So I was giving you all the logical reasons to understand your true nature, to understand the true nature of reality and all that. So everything said so far was based on logic of reasoning. Okay, so I hope up till this point everything is clear. And if we'll move on, now Krishna is further continuing and saying, Shrinu, that you Arjuna listen. And this Shrinu comes from Shru Dhatu. Shru Dhatu, we all know, means to listen or to hear. And the form here is Lot Lakara, that is imperative mood, Madhyama Purush, that is second person, and Ekvachanam, because this action is directly attributed to the listener, that is Arjuna. And Lot Lakara, why? Because Krishna is saying as a command, he is saying as an Adesh to Arjuna, that you Arjuna listen. Okay, and if we move on, so again the question is Kam Shrinu, that what should he listen? So Krishna is saying Imam Shrinu, that now listen to this. See, this Imam comes from the Sarvanama Idam, and Idam also means this only. Just as this Esha that came from Etad. Etad also means this, Idam also means this. For the same thing, you have two Sarvanamas in Sanskrit. And just like Esha, we know this pronoun is pointing to this Buddhi, which is a Strilinga Pada. So this Idam also is going to take the feminine gender form, Strilinga Pada. The only difference from Esha is this Imam is in Dutiya Vibhakti Ekvachanam. This is in second word case singular. Why Dutiya Vibhakti? Because now this Imam is a object, is a karma of this Kriya Shrinu. That Krishna is saying that listen to this knowledge, listen to this. So since this is a karma of this Kriya, this Idam in Strilinga Dutiya Vibhakti Ekvachanam becomes Imam. And same question repeated again, that Kasmin Vishye, Because previously up to this point, whatever he has declared, whatever he has told to Arjuna, that was in regards to Sankhya, that was in regards to the logical reasons. But this knowledge now, which Krishna is going to give to Arjuna, this knowledge is in regards to yoga. That is why he is saying Imam Yogeshranu, that this knowledge which is in relation to yoga. Now listen to this. And again, don't confuse this word yoga with Patanjali's Yoga Darshan. See, this yoga, this comes from Yuj Dhatu. Yuj Dhatu means to join or to unite. Okay, and when this dhatu is modified using Ghahi Pratyay, now this particular Pratyay can give a lot of different meanings. One of the meaning can be the action itself. So Yuj Dhatu means to unite, and the action itself is union. Okay, so one of the meaning of yoga is the union. Okay, the union between what in Vedanta we refer to the union between the individual self with the Atman, with the pure self. That state of union is yoga. But again, when we modify this Yuj Dhatu using Ghahi Pratyay, this Pratyay can also mean the means of doing that action, the instrument of doing that action. So with that sense, the yoga, this becomes the way. And the way, the path, this meaning is given to yoga when we use this word with all those words. Karma yoga, the way of action, the path of action. Bhakti yoga, the path of devotion. Jnana yoga, the path of knowledge. Because there the word yoga means the means of attaining that union. So Imam Yogeshranu, Krishna is saying, now Arjuna, listen to this knowledge in relation to yoga. That means in relation to its practical application, in relation to how you can actually apply it in your life. Okay, so that is all you have to understand about these two words used in this shloka, Sankhya and Yoga. Sankhya is the logical reasonings behind anything, and Yoga is the technique to apply that. But up until this point, what Krishna is saying to Arjuna, that so far, whatever I have told to you, that was in relation to the reasons, the reasonings, and now what I am going to tell you, that will be in relation to the technique, the practical application of it. That is what he is saying. Okay, and now before moving forward to the second line, just remember this thing, that this knowledge that Krishna is saying that I am going to give to you now, which is in relation to yoga, which is in relation to the technique, the practical application of it, this knowledge has a unique benefit. What is that benefit? Krishna is telling in the second line. So we are starting with this Kriya Pada prahasyasi. And this Kriya Pada comes from the dhatu ha dhatu. Ha dhatu means to cast off, to abandon, to get rid of, in that sense. We have the prefix pra, but the meaning is still intact in that sense only. And the form is lit lakara. That is the future tense. And again, Madhyama Purush Ekvachanam, because this action is also attributed to the direct listener Arjuna. So pra plus ha, this combination in these properties becomes prahasyasi. The meaning is you will abandon, you will cast off. And if we'll move on, so the question is, Kam prahasyasi, what will he cast off? And the response is, Karma bandham prahasyasi. Karma bandham, very easy to understand. Karma, this means your karma, your actions. And bandha, this means the bondage, the bond. So karma bandham prahasyasi, you Arjuna will abandon the bondage of karmas, the bond of actions. Okay, and see, the pratipadika is karma bandha, which is of course a samasa, samastapada. And since the meaning is bond of actions, so you can understand the vigraha as karma nama bandha iti karma bandha. The bond of actions, that is this karma bandha, used here in Dutiya Vibhakti Ekvachanam. Why? Because this is the karma of this Kriya Prahasyasi. And if we'll move on, so now Krishna is saying Kidrishaha, that is being what? That Arjuna will abandon the bondage of actions by being what? And Krishna is saying Yuktaha, by being yoked, by being joined. And joined or yoked to what? So we understand with the context of shloka that yoked with this knowledge that Krishna is going to tell Arjuna now. He explains the same thing further in the second line that we'll decode now. That kaya yuktaha, yoked with what? So Krishna is saying buddhaya yuktaha, that yoked with knowledge. And we know that he's talking about this knowledge that he's going to expound in relation to yoga. So yoked with this knowledge, you Arjuna will abandon the bondage of actions. That is what Krishna is telling Arjuna. As for this pada buddhaya, so again this is coming from the same pratipadika buddhi, used in the sense of knowledge, wisdom, and this buddhaya is just the tritiya vibhakti, ekvachanam form. Okay, since it is a strilingam pratipadika. So in strilinga, tritiya vibhakti ekvachanam, this buddhi becomes buddhaya. Now all these padas are done. Let us see the anvaya along with the anuvada. And before starting with this Anvaya, you see this Pada Yaya. So this Yaya comes from Yad Sarvanama. Yad Sarvanama is that which. And this Sarvanama, just by looking at its form, you can see this pronoun is being used for this Buddhaya. So this pronoun is also taking the same form, thus Trilingam Tritiya Vibhakti Ekvachanam form. And how this Yaya is being used along with Buddhaya, we will see when we now do the Anvaya and the Anuvada. Okay, so the first piece of information that Krishna gives us is Esha Buddhihi. This knowledge, te abhihita, that has been told to you, Sankhya, is in relation to Sankhya. That this knowledge that has been told to you so far is in relation to the logics and the reasonings. And then Krishna says, Idanim tu imam buddhim yoge shrinu. So basically he's saying, but now shrinu, but now listen to imam buddhim. But now listen to this knowledge, yoga, in relation to yoga. That now listen to this knowledge in relation to its practical application, in relation to the technique that you need to apply. And then lastly, Krishna says, Yaya Buddhaya Yukta, yoked with which knowledge, Tvam Partha, you O Partha, Prahasyasi, will abandon, will cast off what? Karma Bandham, the bond of actions. That yoked with such knowledge, you O Partha, will abandon the bond of actions. Okay, so that is the translation, that is the meaning of this shloka. See, with this shloka, again, we see the unimaginable brilliance of Krishna in understanding his subject, in understanding the true nature of human beings. Because Arjuna there in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he is representing all of humanity. And Krishna, as a teacher, he is telling us the truths. So, how brilliantly in the initial phase of this chapter, when Arjuna surrenders to Krishna, no, Shadimam, when he surrenders to Krishna and says that, guide me now, Krishna. And then Krishna starts. So he starts with a bang. He starts with the highest of the philosophy first. Those reasons, those logic. Now when he asks Arjuna that Avinashi tu tadvidhi, yena sarvamidam tatam, that understand that all this thing, understand your true nature, your true self is Avinashi. It is indestructible. And then he goes on and says, using another, what we saw in another verses, Nainam chindantri shastrani, Nainam dahati pavaka, that the self can neither be killed by a sword, neither can be burnt by the fire, can be made wet by water. All this philosophy. Then he also says, Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, that there is never non-existence of sat, of what is true. And there is never a proper existence of asat, which is not true. All these are upadhyaya, they come and go. But your true nature, your true self is nitya, is shashvata. So he starts with the highest of the philosophy. And he asks Arjuna to identify yourself with that. But of course, that gives a shock to Arjuna. And realizing that, he immediately dilutes it down. And then he starts to give more practical reasons to Arjuna, more worldly reasons to Arjuna. That for a Kshatriya, such kind of war are like a open gateway to heaven. No, Swargadwaram, so open gateway to heaven, such kind of war. And then he also tries to instill fear in Arjuna that, see, if you will not fight the war, all the people, they will think that you ran because of cowardice. They are not going to see your high, this noble intentions, that you don't want to kill your family members, you don't want to kill people. No one is going to see that. All they are going to see is you got frightened and it was your cowardice due to which you ran away. And that for a Kshatriya is even worse than death. So he starts to give all the material reasons, all the worldly reasons to Arjuna, and that starts to make sense to Arjuna a lot more. And he starts to open up. His mind starts to open up to all what Krishna is saying. So throughout this entire chapter 2, we have seen the brilliance of Krishna in understanding the true nature of humanity, true nature of humans. Because Arjuna there in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he is representing all of humanity. He is representing all of humanity with their problems. That problem was there 7,000 years before also. That problem still persists, and it's always going to persist as long as the humanity is there, the humans are there. So Krishna understands his subject, and see how brilliantly he has taken Arjuna to understand his point, to make him understand this point. And now he's saying that so far, whatever I've told you is based on Sankhya, is based on the logic of reasoning. And that is what we see, that he gave so many reasons to Arjuna to persuade him to fight his war, to leave his drudgery and to fight this war, to get up and fight this war. Now he's telling the way to do it. Now he's telling that, okay, now that you are ready to fight, now let me tell you how to fight. Basically, now let me tell you how to engage in action. What should be the mental attitude with which you have to perform an action. And with this, he starts to give an idea of Karma Yoga. Okay, and apart from this, there is one more spark of brilliance in this verse, and that is when Krishna tells Arjuna that what I am going to tell you now is based on yoga, is based on practical application of it, he immediately tells the benefit of it also. Because see, when you understand or you know a benefit of something, then only you are going to put your heart to that thing, right? I can tell a person a lot of things, but if he does not see any benefit, he is not going to relate to that. He may or may not do that. So Krishna is very careful in that. Again, he understands human nature. So he says that what I am going to tell you is the practical application of all this, and listen to what is the benefit of it. And what benefit he tells Arjuna in this shloka, that if you understand this knowledge, if you are yoked with this knowledge, knowledge related to yoga, you will karma bandham prahasyasi. You will abandon, you will cast off the bondage of actions. And this particular benefit, there can be a lot of benefits to Karma Yoga, but this particular benefit struck the hardest to Arjuna. Because see, up till this point, what is the major problem of Arjuna up till this point? That he is hesitant to kill his own relatives. He is hesitant to kill his own teachers, his own family members, because the repercussions of these actions is going to haunt him. So what he is most troubled for is this same thing, that the repercussions of those actions. And this is exactly what Krishna tells as a benefit, that if you are yoked with this knowledge, you will karma bandham prahasyasi, you will abandon, you will cast off any bondage that arises from doing an action. So a beautiful, beautiful shloka, this one. And again, whatever I am able to share here, again, is due to Swami Chinmayananda's brilliant commentary on this, because I have also read this shloka before also, but the way he explained this, then only I could understand these nuances of this shloka, that how brilliant Krishna is in portraying and understanding human nature, and how brilliant this simple two lines are. This is the power of Sanskrit also, that in these two lines, they can pack so much punch. So that is what we say in this shloka. That is it. Again, you can find a commentary, read it, you will also enjoy it like this. Maybe in that commentary, you will also get different nuances. You will also get few more additional points, because these verses are full of these things. Okay, it is up to us how much we can dig in, how much wisdom can we take from just these two lines. But anyways, that is it. I hope all the padas, everything is clear. You have the PDF sheet. You can refer to that sheet in case you have any doubt. In case I missed out anything, all the grammatical breakdown is in the PDF sheet that you can download from the link in the description box. I'll meet you now with another video in another shloka. Until then, stay awesome, stay happy, keep learning Sanskrit. Vayam punaha milamaha. Dhanyavad.